Hi, hello, and welcome to our event tonight. I'm so glad you took time out of your busy schedule graduating, busy schedule with the holidays, busy schedule studying, busy schedule with all the other things in life that keep you so busy. We're so glad you took time to come to our 1 hour event tonight. This is called NCLEX Myths and Test Day 101. And what we're going to be covering is some things that people think are true about the NCLEX, but they're not. And then some strategies to help you do better on the NCLEX based on those myths. So that's kind of how we're going to go tonight. My name is Bridget, and I'll be the instructor that's on the camera. But in the background, you have more instructors, which is kind of how Kaplan likes to work it online. We like to make sure that you feel supported the whole time you're getting ready for NCLEX, during your class, and when you're studying. We want you to feel supported. So we're here for you, and you don't just have me, but you have Karen in the background. She's another NCLEX RN instructor, and she's on the camera sometimes. You might have had her for your class when you were preparing, taking your class online with Karen. She's here. And then you have Claudia, and she's in the background tonight, ready to answer your questions. And we also have Jenny. And all three of them are RNs, and they're also instructors just like me. We all take turns being on the camera. In fact, you can see just below this screen, if you scrolled the whole screen down, you'll see two more events that one of them Karen did, and one of them another instructor named Norma did. So you can look at those anytime later is fine. You don't have to do that tonight. But those are some other events that we had in the past that you might want to review. This is our first time doing the NCLEX Myths one. So it's brand new, and you're the first people to hear it. So we're so glad you came tonight, and so many of you came, so it's really great. During the event, you can take time to ask questions. I think you can see that you can ask questions in the pod there. And sometimes it takes a second for them to get to you, so don't think they're not seeing you. They'll see you, and then they'll answer your questions as we go through. They'll also tell me if there's something that I should be addressing, or they'll let me know some things too. But mainly you'll be talking to those three. One more thing I'm supposed to tell you is that in the settings on your computer, you're able to adjust the player settings for this broadcast. We do get some students telling us the camera's blurry, that sort of thing. On our end, it looks okay. But sometimes it's your Wi-Fi, sometimes it's your computer, and I look a little bit blurry. This is a live event with a lot of people in it, so you might see that sometimes it does get blurry, but that it can be adjusted, your settings. If you have trouble with that, just let them know in the chat. Okay, we just want you to feel like you're supported the whole time that you're with us in Kaplan. So here's what we're doing. We are going to talk about those myths because you can hear about things when you're from friends, from people that have taken the NCLEX, even from your instructors, that you're not too sure if that's true. Now, I teach in a nursing program, And when I started teaching, there were a lot of things that I thought were true because they were true when I took it a long time ago, right? But it's a different time now, and the rules change quite frequently. So there'll be frequent rule changes, and the way things go and how things are done can change quite frequently. So even instructors like myself need to stay up to date with what the latest things are. So we're going to try to make sure that you understand about those myths and how you can use these myths to help you do better on the exam. That's what we're going to do in the Test Day 101. Sometimes those myths can set you up in the wrong direction. They can make you feel more stressed with no purpose, or you'll hear something from someone that you'll think is true and it's not true. Let me give you an example, and I'm not going to go, it's not on our myths, but sometimes people will think, oh, it's okay to chew gum when you're taking the NCLEX. And a lot of us use gum or chew gum or eat candy or drink water when we're studying, right? Taking questions, we're doing eating candy and gum. And it's a great strategy to help you stay alert, to stay awake, and you might be kind of dependent on that. I was when I was a student. I had always had some mints or some gum or candy. But during the NCLEX, you can't use gum or candy. You can't have any food or drink at your computer site. You can have something in your locker, but if you leave your desk to go out to the locker to get something, and you have to come back without it, right? But if you leave your desk to go get something, it takes into your time. So that, based on that tip, you want to be careful and not be used to having gum and candy when you're preparing for the NCLEX. You want to get ready for test day. So we think of the test day as a workout. So we want to train and be ready for that day. That's so important. Let's go to the next one. The next thing is, this is where I want you to interact with Karen and Claudia and Jenny. And you can go ahead and put in some things in that chat that you've heard about NCLEX. Now, you might know that you might not know if it's true or not. You might even think it's kind of a crazy question. But I mean, these rules for NCLEX can seem a little crazy. So we want to make sure that you understand them. So if you can't think of anything right now, and if it comes to you later, feel free to say, is this true about the NCLEX? Because probably somebody else in the audience is wondering that too. So if you feel comfortable to put those into the chat there, Claudia will answer, or they'll let me know. What you guys thought of, and we'll be able to address those too. All right. We want to give you some information because we know you're studying, and we want to make you feel comfortable for that test day. We want you ready to go on test day. All right. The first myth that we have is that the number of questions you're assigned can be random. And students ask us this all the time. They'll say, I heard that at each center, they're required to give a certain number of students 265 questions. So it's possible for me to get 265 questions just because I was randomly chosen. No, that is not true. Everyone who gets the number of questions that you get on the NCLEX is based on how you're performing. So they're not required to give out a certain number of 265 questions every day. The number of questions that you're getting, I'm basing this on the RN. So when I'm talking about the NCLEX today, I'm going to talk about the RN. Now the PN has different numbers, but the myths are the same, okay? So the myths are, the numbers of the questions are a little bit different, but the myths are the same, okay? So this is not true. The number you're getting is based on how you're performing. Now that being said, I want all of you here to plan on getting the maximum number of questions, because each of you is going to go into the NCLEX, and there's a high potential that you could get 265. In fact, plan on that 265, because it's sort of like running a race, a marathon, if you will. And on this marathon called NCLEX Test Day, you might have to run up to 265 questions. So if you have to go that far, you want to be ready for the potential to have to do that many questions. At some point, someone's going to come out, the NCLEX is going to say, you can stop now, right? but you don't know when they're going to say that, and it might go all the way. So I want you prepared for that many questions. Being ready for that many questions can be tough, right? It can be tough, so you have to work hard to be ready for that. We'll be talking about that too. Remember that the NCLEX is a computer adaptive test, so it's based on how you're performing. So let's look at this graph, and you saw this during your class, right? You saw this for the RN, you have a max of 6 hours, and the LPN is only 5, but the max for the RN is 6. So I want you to have those experiences of being alone in a room, in silence, looking at a computer screen for 6 hours. You can take little breaks, but I don't want you taking long breaks. I don't want you going outside and walking around, right? When you're doing your 6 hours, because you can't do that on NCLEX. I don't want you trying to feel better by petting your dog or doing something, other things that make you feel better. You can get a snack like you would at test day, but don't text your friends because you can't use your phone during NCLEX day. Those are things that we do to make ourselves feel better, right? Can't do that on test day. So we have to know how we're going to do it without having those strategies to cope, right? So we want to be ready for 265 questions, and we want to be ready for a 6-hour test. So at least have a couple of times where you go really long on taking tests. In Kaplan, we give you that, right? We give you those long tests, and you can make long tests on your own with the QBank. But we don't want you to do 6 hours every day. We just want you to have at least a couple of experiences of 6-hour tests before you take your NCLEX. So here's where it could shut off at 75 or anywhere all the way up to 265. On this left side is the difficulty. Down here you saw, easy questions, and up here, more difficult questions. So when you're doing your NCLEX, you're going to get a question. Now, I did see on the poll that some of you are taking the test tomorrow. So what we want for you today is for you to have a very good day. We wanted you to have a great day today. Kind of one of those very rare stress-free days that we never have, right? You want things to go well. You wanted to take time to pack your lunch. You wanted there to be gas in the car. You wanted to talk to people that were very positive. You did not want to get stressed. You didn't want to spend all day cramming. And if this event is stressing you out in any way, you should just close the computer down and have a nice evening, right? Because we want you on that day of the test to feel positive, to feel like you're doing well, confident, like you've been studying, ready to go because you did all those content, you studied your content with Kaplan, and super prepared for this test by doing all of the questions and reviewing all those questions in Kaplan. Because once you get that very first question, whether it's above or below the pass line, we want you to get that question correct. We'd love you to get most of the questions correct, but as you know, that won't happen because you get a question, and if you get it right, it gets a little bit more difficult. And if you get that one right, you get one that's even more difficult. And eventually, you're going to get one wrong because they keep pushing you. So even if they push you up this high, you're going to get one wrong, right? You're going to get them wrong. So you're going to miss one, easier, more difficult. It bounces along like this. I want you nice and fresh so you're ready to go so that your performance is really good. So you get above the line and stay above the line. But are you going to get 100%? No. You just want to demonstrate to Kaplan, or excuse me, to the NCLEX, that you are safe and effective. And being above the passing line demonstrates that you're safe and effective, okay? So you want that. So the number of questions that you get is based on your performance. As soon as you demonstrate that you're above the line, then you're done. If you demonstrate that you're below the line, you're also done, all right? Good. So I think you probably heard this in your class. This is what we want you to think of. In your program, you learned content. You also spent time in clinical. And in clinical, you took care of patients. So think of the NCLEX as taking care and going in to visit 265 patients. You're going to open the door, look inside, and answer that patient's question. And then you go to the next patient and you answer the patient's question and you close the door. And you just keep going, giving the safest, best answer you can to every single patient, just like you would do in the real world, just like you did in clinical. Each of you that are qualified to take the exam were in clinical showing your instructor that you're safe and effective. And you did that every single time you were in clinical. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here ready to take the NCLEX. So do that and show that NCLEX just like you showed your clinical instructor that you're safe and effective. All right, here's another one. We hear this a lot too. How do you know you're doing well in the NCLEX? And almost everybody will say, because if you're getting a lot of select all that apply, that means you're doing great. Well, select all that apply can be above or below the pass line. So that's not true. You will hear instructors even say that. We have an instructor on my campus that always says this, oh, if you're getting select all that apply, you're doing great. We want you to feel like you're doing great, but I don't want you to get so comfortable that you sort of stop trying. We want you to work hard on every question to try to get the question right, but don't assume that any question is above or below. You don't know, and it actually doesn't matter. But what does matter on test day is that you try to get every question you see correct, okay? It matters if they're above or below when you're studying, and we talk about that a lot in our program, right? But on test day, doesn't really matter. Get a question, get it right. Get another question. Try to pick the safest answer. Just keep doing that over and over. And don't think about, is this above or below? Don't worry about it. Select all that apply, ordered response, even the 4 multiple choice questions can be above or below. Just work hard on test day to try to get them correct. When you're practicing, though, you do want to practice with those high-level questions. You're seeing that in Kaplan with all of your Q-Bank questions. Those are above the pass line. We want you to practice with those Q-Bank questions. We want you to finish all of those. Sometimes students get a little burned out about halfway through and they think, I'm doing fine, I don't need to finish these. Trust me, you need to finish these. You want to practice with those high-level questions. Not only does it help you figure out what content you need to study, it helps you get better at questions. It makes you a little faster. And then it also builds your confidence because you know you've done hundreds of questions that are at that passing level and you've done well. And you've done them all in that test-like condition. It will get you in there to be confident. And we know that being confident really can have a big impact on test day. So keep that up with that consistent studying with those high-level questions that you have in Kaplan. All right, this is another thing. And students ask, somebody even asked me this today when we were teaching a class. They said, I'm on my second time and I know that I'm going to get a much harder test than the first time. That's not true. So it's not true that students who repeat NCLEX get a more difficult test. A lot of students think this. A lot of test takers, they're not students anymore, right? A lot of future RNs think this, that, oh, I'm a second-time test taker. They're going to know that and they're going to give me a harder test. That is not true. And students also can think, well, I went to an ADN program, so they'll give me an easier test, right? Not true either. So it's not a different test for different students. It's not a different test for different students. So everybody's getting the same NCLEX. They're getting questions pulled from the same pool of questions, and how it's judged is similar, is the same, all right? So it's the same way that it's judged. Just because you are a repeater doesn't mean that you're going to get an easier test or a more difficult test. As you know, in Kaplan, we get a lot of people that are repeating. So if you are repeating, you are not alone when it comes to Kaplan. We have a lot of people that are repeating. We know a lot of people try to take the NCLEX on their own at first, and a lot of times that doesn't work out so well. They don't have a system. They don't have a way that they can plan out their studying, and they really want those high-level questions that we're able to give them, and the decision tree strategy that really helps you pass that test. That decision tree works. It will help you on test day. Not only do I believe that because I work for Kaplan, but I talk to students over and over about how much it helped them on test day. So we practice using that decision tree on every single question. This NCLEX is a national test, and each state and student are treated the same. Sometimes different states have different stuff on them. You know, like if in California, where I'm from, you know, a certain thing is not legal, they wouldn't ask that question. Okay, sometimes we get that, but they just wouldn't ask that question. So some states require different stuff for NCLEX, but that doesn't have anything to do with it, right? So background checks can be different in different states, that sort of thing. But each state and students are treated the same. So be ready for a difficult test, because whether you pass or fail, you miss half of the questions, and that's not a good feeling no matter what. A lot of students get to the car, whether they pass or fail, and they just feel sick to their stomach because the test is really hard no matter who you are, passing or failing. All right, this one we hear a lot. I did hear this today too, that if you get 75, you pass. If the test shuts off at 75, you pass. Or sometimes students will say, if you go past 75, it means you failed. So it's similar, right? That's not true either. It can shut off anytime. You can go all the way. I have plenty of students in my program that go all the way to 265. They won't tell you that they went all the way to 265. They'll tell people, oh, I went to 75, because they don't want to say that they went all the way to 265, but they'll tell me, right? And they pass. I've met students that finished at 75 and did not pass. I've met students in Kaplan in that situation. So the number of questions doesn't matter, because what you're going to be doing on that day is planning to go to 265. So what I want for you, let me draw you a little picture here, is I want you to think, I'm going to go to 265. Because if I'm looking at that graph, right, it looks like this. And when I'm taking my test questions, it's going to give me some questions. Like this, right? It's giving me some questions, and I get above the pass line, or maybe I'm going down, or maybe I'm going up. And it gets to 75, and it says, hey, Bridget, you're doing great. And I'll give me some more passing ones. You pass. I want you to say, hey, why is this shutting off at 75? I want some more questions. I was prepared to go all the way. I was prepared to go to 265. I want some more questions, right? I want you to feel like that. What I don't want is for you to be on question 76 and say, oh, I'm failing. I'm doing bad. Oh, no, I'm on 105. Computer, shut off, shut off. I'm just going to pick any number to randomly make it stop. Please stop, please stop. You don't want that feeling, and that can happen to you. You want to be ready to go all the way for 265, okay? We want to keep you going straight to 265. Okay, here's another one. This is a good one, I think. This is a myth. And this is hard for me to convince you that it's a myth, because you'll hear from students over and over saying, I kept getting questions. I don't like OB. And I kept getting OB questions. I kept getting them. That question found my that test found my weaknesses and kept asking me questions over and over. It doesn't do that. So see how it's saying here, this is a myth. If you struggle in a category, you'll get a lot of questions in that category. And that is not true. The way that questions are pulled are based on what nurses do every day. It's based on the plan, the NCLEX test plan. And so the NCLEX wants you to pass. I know that sounds funny. It does sound funny, but they do want you to pass. So they give you questions from the test plan, and they randomly, well, that's not really true. The computer chooses the questions based on the level of question that you just took and how you responded, and the category. So once you show that you're above passing or passing in a certain category, it moves to another category, right? You don't know which one it's going to move to. That'd be great if we did, right? So you would know what's coming up. So if you get a question right in a certain area, it's going to give you a more difficult question, and it's going to choose from an area that you haven't shown that you're passing yet, right? So this is really important because we want you on test day to be ready for all of the categories. Sometimes students will say, well, I'm not good in a certain area, so I'm just going to plan on, I'm not going to study that. I'm going to make every other area strong. No, you got to make all the areas strong. We don't want you to have any weak areas. We want those weak areas gone. And Kaplan helps you with that because they give you the videos, the content videos, the ebook to help you with the content, and then the Q bank where you're able to pick areas that you're weak in and get a lot of questions in that. The good news too about your Kaplan material is when you're starting to take the Q bank questions, you want to take all of the areas at once. You don't want to focus yet because you don't really know what your weaknesses are. Some of you may think you know your weaknesses. Like I would say to you, oh, I'm weak in uh, pharmacology, let's say. I'm weak in pharmacology. And if I start taking some of those tests, a lot of students will realize, hey, I'm not weak in pharmacology. I don't really like pharmacology, but I'm not weak in it. I know enough to do pretty well on it because I've been studying that for a while. What I am weak in is basic care and comfort. So I need to work on that area. So you want to make those weak areas stronger by reading the book, watching those content videos. You'll find those weak areas by taking test questions in your Kaplan materials. You'll also find those weak areas by looking through your ebook. Your ebook is a great resource. If you're struggling to download that or having trouble with it, make sure you call for help at our 1-800-CAP test number, and they will help you. I'm sure Karen or Claudia will put in some information there about that too, about where you can get some more help. But we want you to have some help with that because we want you to have that ebook. Looking through that ebook and finding areas that you're not comfortable with is really important. We teach a lot of programs. Sometimes we'll have like whole classes that come together. I have classes. Today I had one in Chicago. Tomorrow I might have one students from New York, and then the next day is someplace in Oregon, right? We're teaching all over to all different schools. And you'll be surprised that some schools are really strong in certain areas, and another school can be really weak in certain areas. And the students have no idea that they're weak in certain areas or that they had a really good experience. They just think that's what nursing school's like, right? So taking those questions, finding those weak areas, looking through that ebook will help you figure out what you don't know, because it is really hard to know what you don't know. So make sure you're identifying those weak areas and find ways to make them stronger. You want to make all of your areas strong. Be prepared for every area. I put this picture in, and I know there's like a little bit of a cliche with nurses taking care of small babies, but I love this picture because it does show what the gravity of what you're doing. Everything nurses do makes a difference. In this picture, you could be giving medication. It's loud outside. In this picture, you could be giving medication. You could be feeding. You could be doing an assessment. You could be holding this child's hand. Everything you do in nursing makes a difference. So that's why this test is so hard. It's based on safety and can you provide a safe environment for your patient. And that's all the NCLEX wants to know. That's exactly what your clinical instructor wanted to know. So make sure that you're able to show them just like you showed your instructor. Okay. I love this one. This is a really good one. We hear this a lot, and I've heard this so many times because the students will call me from their car after the exam, or they'll send me a text or an email and say, I know I didn't pass because when I left, the testing center staff member said, see you later. And I'm not planning to see them later. I don't know them. They must know I failed, and they're expecting me to come back and retake the test. But that's not true. This is true that students really do think this. They think that because they said that, the test center staff must know that they didn't pass, and they're going to have to come back. But that's not true. The testing center staff has no way of knowing your test results. Another thing about being at the test center that students will say is it's very stressful in there. So you want to be prepared to kind of be stressed out that day. And I know that you already have a lot of stress taking the NCLEX, a lot's riding on it. You already put a lot of money into this. You've dedicated a lot of time to it. So there's already that internal stress. But going to this test center can be stressful in itself. They want to know if when you get there, you have to get there, for example, 30 minutes early. If you're late, you can't test. So make sure you get to the testing center early. You want to give yourself time for traffic. You want to give yourself time if something goes wrong. You want to have someone available in case your car breaks down, right? These things do happen, especially on days that are really important to us. So maybe have someone at home, like, I'm going to be driving over there, but can you be available while I'm driving just in case I need you? That's a great thing to do. So arrive early. Control all the things that you can. When you get there, they're going to make you very stressed. They're going to make you turn your pockets inside out. They're going to take your glasses and they're going to look at them and make sure you don't have some sort of computer or microphone in your glasses. If you're wearing a necklace, they might make you take that off. If you're wearing a watch, you might have to take that off. There's some rules about the clothes that you wear. Can't wear a hoodie, can't wear a baseball hat. You want to wear some layers because it might be really cold in there, or it might be really hot in there and you want to take your sweater off. So it's very, very stressful. Another thing that can make you stressed, pull this over, is your phone. Your phone can make you stressed. I know you want to have your phone with you and you do need it in the car because something could happen. Your car could break down and you might need help. So you'll want to bring your phone. But I would suggest to you that you keep your phone in your car. If you don't, they will take you and they'll say, do you have a phone? And you'll say yes. And then they'll give you a plastic bag, kind of like this, right? And they'll take the phone and they'll put it in the plastic bag and it's clear. I think it's clear. Maybe it's an envelope, I'm not sure. And they'll put a seal. They'll seal it closed, right? And after your NCLEX, you have to take the phone over to the center staff and show them your phone. And they want to make sure that your seal is still intact because they don't want you using your phone during breaks. They don't want you looking up stuff. They don't want you calling people and asking them questions, right? You can't text with people. You can't use your phone at all during your breaks. If you are stressed after the test, which you will be, it's very difficult. If you're stressed after and you go out to your car with the phone still in the bag, it can be in your backpack, but it's still in the little bag, and you leave the testing center and forget to give it to the staff, right? You forgot to give it to the staff. They will come outside and say, you forgot to show me your phone. And you'll say, oh, yeah, I did. Oh, let me show it to you right now. And they'll say, that's a fail. That's a test fail. That's very, very stressful on you. And lots of students have forgotten that before and they've had to retake. So you'll hear that, and that is true that can happen. I'm telling you all of this to let you know that it's a stressful experience. So you want to be as prepared as you can. You've done the right thing by signing up with Kaplan. You're doing the right thing now by doing your list of to-dos that we've given you, your Q bank, your trainers, all of that. And you're also doing a great thing by coming here today because you're avoiding, thank you so much, Karen. You're avoiding those rumors, those things that we hear that we think are true, and we may just start to think that that's true. And then we get really disappointed, like the gum. I'll think I can chew gum during NCLEX, and you can't. After you finish NCLEX that day, when you get into your car and you're done, and you don't know if you passed or failed, you really have no idea. You might feel like you passed, but you're not sure. You might feel like you failed, but again, you're not sure. Test was really hard. Take a break. Take a break. This could be your last time that you, before you become an RN, right? Or before you realize you have to retake it, right? Could be your last time to have a break from studying, from NCLEX, from job hunting. It can be your last little break. Now, hopefully you'll find out soon what your score was. Hopefully you'll find out soon that you passed, right? But you deserve a little break. So that night after the test, be nice to yourself. Take yourself out to dinner. Don't cook. Don't wash dishes. Have somebody make you food. Do something that you want to do. You've been doing a lot that you haven't wanted to do. You didn't really want to spend all this time doing all those trainers and all that Q bank and memorizing that tree. This is your one evening, afternoon to have a break from the NCLEX. And you really do deserve a break after how much you've done. So figure out a way to enjoy that day. Don't set yourself up for something stressful. You've already been through enough. Oh, now we're on our last slide, but I do want to take this chance to see if Karen or Claudia have some last minute questions from, or Jenny, have some last minute questions from all of you about the NCLEX. If there's anything that you wanted to know. One thing that Claudia did mention, she had a poll down there. And some people, I wanted to talk about that. Some of you thought that some questions had more weight to them than others. Well, let's see. That's not true. Some questions are more difficult than others, and you do want those questions, but they don't have more weight. They're just showing better that you're above the pass line. One thing, let me tell you about select all that apply that I don't think we mentioned. For select all that apply questions, those questions can be above or below the pass line, but they're all or nothing questions. You don't get points for getting some of it correct. You get points for getting either all of it correct or none, right? So if you get 2 out of the 3, you don't get points for that. That's a it's wrong question, okay? I wanted to make sure you knew that. So they don't count more. The other thing about select all that apply that students don't realize is the only thing that the council tells us about those questions is that those questions, it's always more than one for the answer. So when you're on select all that apply, it can't just be one of the answers, but that's all you know. It could be all of the answers. It could be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. So but it's always more than one. Okay, it's always more than one. I want to make you said that you guys saw that. Oh, good. Okay, good. Some of you, and Claudia is mentioning this, the results of the poll, that a lot of you had put down that you'll be able to tell a passing level question from a non-passing level one. And I kind of like that you're saying that. I mean, I think that that's great that you're saying that because you know that you signed up for Kaplan because you wanted questions that were hard and you knew about passing level questions and you wanted those hard ones and you felt like that's good. And so I'm happy about that. I'm happy that you're saying that. But I'm also worried. I don't want you to worry about that during test day. Okay, I know that's really good if you're getting passing level questions, but I don't want you to look at each question and take time or brain energy trying to figure out, is this a passing level question or not? I don't want you to take time to worry about that. I want you to just look at the question and say, is this, just answer it and try to get it correct, all right? To get transferred and try to get it correct. Okay. Another thing, and thank you, Claudia. She's given me all kinds of feedback from what you guys are asking down there. Um, some people are saying that you can skip questions, and that's not true either. You're not able to skip any questions on the NCLEX. It won't let you move ahead to the next one. You have to answer to be able to move ahead. And you've seen that with Kaplan too, where you have to answer the question to be able to move ahead. You have to do that on NCLEX. That makes sense, right? Because they're basing the next question on how you answered the previous one. So if you're getting an easy question right, then they're going to give you a more difficult one. But they don't know what to do if you skip it. So you have to answer the question in order to move on. So when you're practicing, that's why Kaplan, we want you set up on a computer with a nice clear desk, perfectly quiet, no food, no snacks, no phone, nothing like that. We want you doing questions over and over because that way we know you're setting up for test day and we don't let you skip questions. The opposite wrong way to study is to sit on your couch with a book, listening to music, watching TV with your dog on your lap, maybe, or your cat, right? Answering questions, eating popcorn. That's nothing like the NCLEX. So we don't want you to do that. What do you do on that? You're like, oh, I don't like that question. I'm going to go to the next one. Oh, no, that's not getting ready for the NCLEX. That's not working out. That's not mimicking test day. Remember, it's like a race. And what do you do when you go for a race? You want to run a marathon, you want to run a race, or any athletic event. You run. What do you do when you want to swim long distance in a lake? You swim. So you got to sit and do the work. You can't just fake do it. You got to do the work. I tell you this because students will tell me when I took the NCLEX, I didn't think it was hard at all because I felt like I was just taking another Kaplan test. I just sat in there. I started taking my NCLEX at the same time that I always take tests with Kaplan. I sat in that chair and I said, I'm ready to go. And I did that every day. I signed up to take my test at 8 in the morning. So every day for 3 weeks, I got up at 8, I got up at 7 in the morning, took a shower, got dressed, just like I'm going to do on test day, sat in my chair and started taking questions at 8 o'clock. So when that 8 o'clock test time came and I was in my testing center, I said, just like another day, taking some questions, trying to do the best I can. Not eating, not snacking, not drinking coffee, not answering my phone, just taking test questions. And I did that every day for a certain number of hours, and I was ready to go on test day. So that was very helpful to them to have those questions. All right. So glad. Looks like a lot of you came tonight, and we're so glad that you came tonight. I think that Karen and Claudia are trying to give me a few more questions if you have any, but it looks like you're doing really well on studying. We're so glad you came tonight and that you were able to make time for this. We definitely want to make sure that you're getting enough information out of this. Good. That's the most, okay, good. Here's another one. If I do a lot of practice questions, that's what's most important, regardless of the scores I'm getting. Okay, good. I love that. Thank you, Claudia. That's another good myth, right? So a lot of students will think, if I do a lot of questions and just keep doing questions, then I'm going to do fine. It doesn't matter about the scores, and I don't have to go back and remediate and look at what I got right and what I got wrong. In fact, I had a student that before she started her Kaplan class, finished all of the questions in Kaplan. She didn't read the instructions, right, for the course and the program. And she went through and just answered every single Q bank question and did every single trainer. So when she started the class on how to use the decision tree, she had no questions left. And she'd already seen all the questions, right? And I said, well, did you go back and look at the answers for all the questions to see what you got right or wrong? And she said, no, I just thought I needed to take a lot of questions. This is not the way to study, right? The way to study, and you guys hear this in class, is to do questions and then review questions. So if I take 50 questions, because we want you to take at least 50 questions per day. Some days you're going to do more, some days, but I don't want you to do less than 50 a day. So if I go and take 50 questions, then I need to go back after I look at my score and I'll say, wow, I did really well. I got a 66% on this test. That's a great Kaplan score. I'm doing great. But I still need to go back and look and see how I did. So I may have done well in a certain category, and I may have done really poorly in another. Then I go through and read the rationales for every question. Everyone, not just the ones I got wrong. I really want to look at the ones I got wrong, but I also want to look at the ones I got right. Because sometimes I get questions right, but I got it right because I was guessing. Or I got it right for the wrong reason. Or I got it wrong because I didn't identify the topic. Or I didn't use the decision tree correctly. I didn't notice that was psychosocial. These are really good things to know about myself. If I just look at the ones I got wrong, I kind of start to feel down, like I'm not doing well on studying. And I get, oh, I'm just not doing good. I shouldn't be a nurse. I start to feel a little down, right? And I don't want you to feel down. I want you to remember you're working hard to pass this test so that you can be a nurse, right? That's the reason that you came here. That's the reason that you signed up for our program. So we want you to do all of the questions, and we want you to review all of the questions. Thank you. Claudia has given me another question that you all had. If repeating a test, oh, people are asking about repeating tests. So the problem is if you repeated, like I talked about that one person who did all of the questions, if you go back and repeat all of the questions, you go through and you repeat questions that you've seen before, you already kind of know the answer because you've seen that question before. So it's not as valuable as one that you haven't seen before. So in the Q bank, you have the option of picking unused, incorrect, or all. Like it lets you choose what you want. I like you to click unused because that way I know you're seeing questions that you haven't seen before, right? Because that's what you're going to get on NCLEX. You're going to get questions that you haven't seen before. Now, that being said, a lot of times students will say, I had that exact question on the NCLEX. Like I'll hear them say that. A lot of the questions I had were exactly like what were in Kaplan. Like we'll hear that a lot. But we don't know if they are. We don't know if they are. But we hear that quite a bit. But we want you to have that experience of fresh questions, just like you're going to experience on the NCLEX. So you have to use the questions to your benefit. You want to look at the questions and you want to try to get each question correct. And then you want to go back and read those rationales and study any content that you didn't know. Think about the decision tree, thinking about the strategies. Why did I miss so many between question 30 and 35? That was right before I took a break. So maybe that would help me figure out when I need to take a break on test day. So after I finish about 25 questions, I should stand up, maybe figure out a way to relax, to de-stress. Some people can de-stress just in their chair. Some people need to stand up or walk around or go get some water, right? So decide what the best way for you is to de-stress between those times when you start getting question wrong, when you're getting burnt out and tired, and you know that that can happen to you. And all right, here's one that Claudia wrote. I've been a straight A student. I should be able to ace the NCLEX exam. Okay, yeah, you're probably, I think this is really hard because we do, most of you guys are really great students, and you would not be in nursing school and have gotten through everything that you've gotten through. First of all, getting into your program was difficult. Doing the exams in your program was difficult. If you remember how stressful skills lab was, you got through all of that. You spent time doing other required tests in your program that were high stakes tests, and you got all the way to pinning and graduation, and now you're here. So almost everyone who takes the NCLEX is a good student. So I don't want you to get a false sense of security. I want you to feel confident. I'm not trying to bring you down here, but I want you to feel confident. But I do want you to know that a lot of people that take the NCLEX are really good students. And just because you've always been a really good student doesn't mean that you're ready for this test. This test requires that application. It's like clinical, where you not just memorize content, but you have to be able to apply it to a patient. So those are two different things. And are you able to do that? And you'll know that when you start doing your questions in the Q Bank, and it will help you know how you're doing. So I'd be interested on that person that was saying that they're a really good student. I would say to you, have you gone through the Q Bank, and how are you doing on that? Are you really doing it according to time? Make sure. And then a lot of times about people that are really good students, and I know lots of them, and I work with lots of them that were really, really good students, that they can get the stress can get to them, right? Because you put a lot of pressure on yourself and you're thinking, I always do well. And that pressure can be a lot, can be an added stress. So take care of yourself is kind of the point of my bringing this up. Take care of yourself and be nice to yourself, and don't be confident, but be nice to yourself too, because it can be stressful in that way. Good. Oh yeah. To get a good score. Yeah, people sometimes do like to repeat their tests to try to get a good score, and they'll even ask, well, can I repeat that readiness test? I mean, you can probably call and ask them, but it's just not worth it because you've already seen those questions. And then the other thing to look at is the National Council website. And I think Claudia maybe and Karen will put up the National Council website for you, so you can look through their website to get some tips. One thing that's really helpful to look through on that National Council website is the test bulletin, candidate test bulletins, and those are available to you online. You really want to look through those up until you take your NCLEX, because there could be some new information that comes out about the NCLEX that you want to know about. So look at that ncsbn.org and make sure you look through those FAQs and the test candidate bulletins. So you really want to look through that. The other one you want to look through is the Pearson VUE website, and that's vue.com, VUE.com. That is a very helpful site to help you manage that stress of test day. They even have like a little animated video that tells you what's going to happen that day, so that it really walks you through step by step. They like to see your ID, they take your picture, they do a vein scan of your hand. They answer a lot of questions about how all of that works. And you may have heard about that from your friends, but the vue.com website will go through all of that and make sure that you feel comfortable on test day. Another thing about that web testing center is it is a good idea to drive over there or walk or take the bus or however you're going to get there on test day before your test day, okay? Because you want to know, where am I going to park? How long does it take to get here? If I know my test is at 8 o'clock, I want to try to get there maybe at 7:15, 7 o'clock. So I need to make sure, what time do I need to leave my house? What time should I wake up? That sort of thought process, you'll kind of know that by planning that out at least a few days, maybe a week before, that you'll be ready to go on test day. So that will make you feel more comfortable. A lot of times this test is just getting over the anxiety of the test. It can be putting a lot of pressure on you. There's a lot of things to know, but remember, it's strategy, content, and confidence. It's all three of those things. And sometimes being unsure can shake that can shape the strategy and the content too. Good. Oh, I'm seeing that there's some international students. You might know that the NCLEX is given in the US and Canada. They both use the NCLEX, and so we do get a lot of Canadian students, but I don't think we consider them international anymore because they use our test and they're studying based on our test. So they're not really international for us. They're more of our nursing partners, right? Because they're part of our team. We get a lot of Canadians in our program, and we get a lot of international students too. International students tell me some different things. It can be really a shock to see NCLEX style questions. When you come and take the test in the United States, because a lot of people are coming here to take the test and want to work here. Maybe they moved here and they want to take the test or that sort of thing. So you have a couple hurdles. You have those strategy, content, and confidence, just like all of us. But you also have the language issue. And then the way that we do nursing here in the US can be different than the way that you did in your country, right? Can be similar in some ways, but in some countries it's a little different. The way we do surgery can be different. The way we do post-care can be a little different. Can be the medical part that's different. Can be the caring. Can be the way we talk to patients can be a little different. So you really want to get into a program like this Kaplan program that helps you understand how we do things in the United States. You may have been a most fantastic nurse in your country. You may have even been a nursing instructor in your country that understands the textbook rules for nursing. But once you come here, it can be just a little bit different. I've had a lot of international students tell us, I've never seen a question like that before at any time when I was in my program in my country. I've never seen a question like that. And they thought that they could just go in and take the test and do well, which I'm sure they could be great nurses, but they've just never seen questions like that. So if you're international, you're doing Kaplan, you're on the right path. Make sure you look through every single page of that ebook, the content book. Watch all of those videos and do every single question in Kaplan and review them all, because it's a difference. Not that you're not going to be a fantastic nurse here as well. It's just that it's so different. The wording, the way we do things, and then the way the questions are set up. So make sure you do that. All right, I think it's time for me to say goodnight. We're at the end of our time, and we got a few more questions out of you, which is really great. So thank you so much for all of your participation. I want to thank Jenny. Thanks, Jenny, for all you did in that rolling chat there, and Karen and Claudia. Claudia really gave me a lot of nice questions at the end to help us, and she set up those polls, so that's perfect. And I'll thank all of you for taking time to come tonight and really out of your busy schedule. You can always, call the 1-800-CAP-TEST number if you ever need anything, and hopefully we'll see you soon. And good night and good luck on your NCLEX. We'll see you soon. Bye.